All right, everyone, get ready for today's deep dive because we're going to be talking about a tool that's, well, some are saying it's going to change how we get ready in the morning.
Oh, okay. I'm intrigued.
It's the TYMO Hair Straightener Brush.
Okay.
We've got a ton of reviews, descriptions. Yeah, we did a lot of research on this one.
That's great.
And what we want to do today is figure out, is this thing actually going to save us time? Or is it just, another gadget that everyone's talking about?
Right, yeah. There's a lot of hype with these beauty tools.
Totally.
So I'm excited to dig into this. What I find really interesting is this idea of combining like a hairbrush and a flat iron.
Right.
I mean, think about how long we spend, doing both of those things separately.
Built a lot of time.
Could this be like the ultimate hack for getting ready faster?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't want a few extra minutes in their morning,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And speaking of busy mornings, a lot of the reviews that we found are from moms, busy moms,
Oh, wow, yeah.
who they swear by this thing.
Really?
They say it's completely changed how they get ready.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But I want to know more, what is it about this brush that makes it so much faster than just using a regular flat iron?
Yeah, good question. So from what I've seen, the secret weapon is in the bristles.
Okay.
They're designed to really grip the hair more effectively than a regular brush.
Interesting.
So you can straighten much larger sections of hair with every pass.
Hmm.
So fewer passes equals less time styling. Pretty simple, right?
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm starting to see why people are so excited about this. But you know me, I'm always a little skeptical of these products that sound too good to be true.
Right.
Is there any actual technology behind this, or is it just like a fancy heated brush?
No. This is not like your grandma's hairdryer brush.
Okay, good.
We're talking high-tech stuff here. It uses something called a T-sensor for really precise heating.
A T-sensor, okay.
Think of it like a mini thermostat inside the brush, and it's constantly monitoring and adjusting the temperature so it doesn't overheat.
Oh, that's smart.
And get this, there are 16 different heat settings.
16. Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Why so many, though? Is that really necessary?
Oh, absolutely. Different hair types, remember, have different needs.
Right.
If you have fine hair, you could totally fry it at a high heat.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But then thick, curly hair needs that higher heat to really get it smooth,
Yeah.
So having all those settings lets you customize the temperature to your own specific hair type.
Oh, okay, so it's all about, minimizing the damage
Exactly.
while still getting the results that you want.
Yes. Minimize damage, maximize results.
Okay, I like that. So it's not just about straightening, it's about doing it in a way that's good for your hair.
Exactly.
Now, I did notice in the description they mentioned something about tourmaline ceramic bristles and negative ions. Can you break that down for me a little?
Sure.
Because that sounds a bit science-y.
Yeah, it sounds more complicated than it actually is.
Okay.
Basically, these special bristles release negative ions when they heat up.
Negative ions?
Right, think of your hair cuticles like little shingles on a roof.
Okay.
So when those shingles are all rough and raised up, your hair's gonna look frizzy and dull.
Oh, yeah, I can picture that.
But these negative ions, they're like tiny magnets.
Oh, you did?
They attract those raised cuticles and flatten them out.
Ooh, interesting.
And the result is smooth, shiny hair that reflects light beautifully.
Okay, that's a fantastic analogy. I can totally see that happening now. So it's straightening, but it's also tackling frizz and shine at the same time.
Yes, exactly. Multitasking hair tool.
I love it. But what about volume? I know some flat irons, they can leave your hair looking really flat.
Right.
Almost like it's glued to your head.
Yeah, that super sleek look.
Yeah. What about this brush? Does it do that?
That's a great question, and it's actually something that a lot of the reviews mention. So while the TYMO brush is definitely designed to straighten your hair, it doesn't completely flatten it.
Okay.
It's made to keep some of that natural volume and body.
I like that, so you still get that effortless, chic look.
Exactly, yeah.
Straight, but not, stiff.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about the technology, how it works, the promise of smooth, shiny hair, all that good stuff. But let's talk about the actual design of this thing.
Okay.
Is it user-friendly?
From what I've gathered from all the reviews, it seems like it checks a lot of boxes when it comes to being user-friendly.
Oh, good.
People really seem to like that the handle's ergonomic. It's curved, so it's easy to hold.
Oh, okay.
And it gives you a good grip, which is essential when you're working with a hot tool.
Yeah, for sure. I've had my share of fumbles with flat irons in the past.
Oh yeah, we've all been there. And speaking of fumbles, the TYMO brush is designed so you don't accidentally press buttons, which can be so annoying.
Ugh, I hate that.
They put the buttons in specific spots, so it's harder to accidentally change the settings, or turn the brush off in the middle of styling your hair.
Oh, that's so smart.
Yeah.
It's such a small detail, but it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Now, what about safety? Any mentions of burns in the reviews?
Not really, surprisingly. It seems like they took safety seriously when designing this brush. They have these cool tips on the ends of the bristles.
Cool tips.
Yeah, so you don't burn yourself, especially when you're working close to your scalp.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, they really thought of everything.
All right, so far so good. Effective straightening, shiny hair, easy to use, safe. It's checking all the boxes. But you know what they say, if it sounds too good to be true.
Right. There's always a catch.
Exactly. So let's get real for a minute.
Okay.
What are the downsides?
Well, no product is perfect, right?
True.
And the TYMO brush does have a couple of drawbacks. One of the biggest complaints is that it works best on dry hair.
Oh, really?
So if you're someone who likes to style their hair when it's damp, that's an extra step you have to add to your routine.
Yeah, that makes sense, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to apply high heat to wet hair.
Exactly. You can really damage your hair that way. And another thing that came up a lot in the reviews is the learning curve.
A learning curve.
Some people found it a bit tricky to use at first.
Really?
Yeah, you have to get used to how to hold it, how much pressure to apply, how to make it work for your specific hair type.
I guess that's true for any new styling tool, right? It takes a little practice to get good at it.
Exactly. It's all about practice.
Were there any other, quirks or things that people mentioned?
Yeah, there were a couple of smaller things. Some reviewers said that even though the button placement is designed to prevent you from pressing them accidentally, it can also make it a bit awkward to reach them when you actually want to change the settings.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Like, sometimes those clever design features can backfire a little bit.
Totally. And then there's the issue of size. This brush isn't tiny. It's bulkier than a regular flat iron, so it might be a bit of a pain to travel with.
Oh, yeah, I hadn't thought about that. So maybe not the ideal travel companion.
Unless you have a really big suitcase.
Right. And while it seems like people are generally happy with how it works on different hair types, a few people said it might not be the best option for very tight curls.
Interesting.
Yeah, it seems to work best for people with wavy or loosely curled hair.
Okay, that's really helpful to know. So it sounds like there are a few downsides, but nothing too major.
Yeah, nothing that's a deal breaker.
But before we jump to any conclusions, I think we should take a closer look at what people who are actually using this brush are saying.
Yes, definitely. Let's dive into those customer reviews. You've read tons of them, right? What's the overall consensus? Are people actually loving this thing?
Yeah, I mean, the overall feeling is definitely positive.
Okay.
There's a lot of excitement about it, especially from people who have, always had trouble straightening their hair. One thing that comes up over and over is how much easier and faster it is to use than a regular flat iron.
Oh, wow.
Especially for those with, that thick curly hair. Seems like a real time saver for them.
So it really does work on thick hair. That's great.
Yeah, it does.
But I'm curious, does it straighten those super tight curls? Or is it more for a wavy look?
That's a great question, and that's where things get a little, a little tricky.
Okay.
So some reviewers with really tight curls, 4B hair texture, they said they could get it straight, but others said it worked better for smoothing and defining their curls rather than completely straightening them.
So maybe not a miracle straightener for every single hair type, but still a good tool if you want to manage and style those tighter curls.
Exactly, yeah.
That versatility is actually pretty impressive. What about how easy it is to use? Did people find it, pretty intuitive to figure out?
Yeah, a lot of people specifically mentioned that it was way easier to use than a regular flat iron, especially when doing the back of their hair. They liked that they could just, brush through their hair without having to worry about clamping and sectioning.
Yeah, I could see how that would be so much easier, especially if you're trying to reach those tricky spots, right?
Totally. It's like the TYMO brush just, takes all the guesswork out of straightening.
It simplifies the whole process.
Exactly.
Which I think is a huge part of its appeal. But we did mention earlier that there's a bit of a learning curve. Did people say how long it took to, get the hang of it?
Yeah, a few people mentioned that it took a couple of tries to really get it right.
Okay.
Finding the right angle, how much pressure to use, that kind of thing.
Yeah, practice makes perfect, right?
Always.
Now, we can't ignore the elephant in the room.
Right.
The negative reviews. You said there were some concerns about malfunctions?
Yeah, there were a few reports of the brush malfunctioning after only using it a short while.
Oh, no.
Some people said the heating element stopped working, and others said the whole brush just stopped turning on. But it's important to remember that this wasn't a very common problem.
Okay.
It's just something to be aware of, especially if you're thinking about buying one.
It's always a good reminder to do your research before buying anything online. Right?
Always, always. Check those return policies and warranties just in case.
Yes, definitely. Were there any other complaints that kept popping up?
Yeah, people weren't too happy about having to completely dry their hair before using it.
Oh, really?
I guess a lot of people are used to styling their hair when it's a little damp.
Yeah, that's true.
So having to dry it first was seen as a bit of a hassle.
I get that. Sometimes those gadgets that are supposed to save us time end up adding more time to our routines.
Right, exactly. Although, I guess that extra drying time is an opportunity to catch up on a podcast.
Oh, there you go. Like this one, perhaps.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about the good, the bad, the occasionally frustrating.
Yeah, it's been quite the discussion.
It has. What's the bottom line? Is this thing, the TYMO brush, is it actually worth all the hype?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
It is. So what's your expert opinion? You've done all the research.
Well, based on everything we've talked about, I'd say it's a pretty good option if you're looking for an easy way to straighten your hair at home. It's convenient, it seems to work well, and it's not too expensive.
I feel like there's a but coming.
But of course, like any product, it's not going to be perfect for everyone.
Right.
You really have to think about your hair type, what kind of style you're going for, and what your expectations are.
Yeah, makes sense.
So if you just want a simple way to smooth and straighten your hair, and you're okay with taking a little time to get used to it, then the TYMO brush could be a really good choice for you.
Especially for those of us who are constantly running short on time, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, who isn't these days?
Right. But before we wrap up our deep dive, I want to zoom out a bit and think about the bigger picture.
Okay.
What does the popularity of a product like this tell us about, hair care trends in general?
That's a really interesting question.
Yeah.
I think it shows how much people are looking for efficiency and products that can do multiple things.
Right. We want products that make our lives easier.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Things that can do more with less.
And in a world where everyone's so busy, it's not surprising that tools like the TYMO brush are, becoming so popular.
It's like that saying, work smarter and not harder, but for our beauty routines.
Totally. And this trend isn't just in hair care either. We see it everywhere.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
Makeup that can be used in different ways, skincare gadgets that do everything, personalized subscriptions for all our different needs. It's all about making things easier and more efficient.
It's like the Marie Kondo approach to beauty, right?
Yes.
Declutter, simplify, focus on what really works.
I love that analogy. And it makes you think, what's next? What other inventions are going to come along that make beauty and self-care even more convenient and personalized?
Ooh, that is a great question, one that we should definitely explore in another deep dive.
Yeah.
But for now, let's bring it back to our listener.
Right.
We've given them a ton of information today, reviews, features, pros, cons. We even talked about cultural trends. It's been a lot.
It has. But hopefully they're feeling a lot more informed about the TYMO brush now.
Exactly. But we don't want to just leave them with facts and figures.
Right. Of course not.
We want them to think critically about this stuff.
Totally.
So here's a question for you, dear listener. If you were to try the TYMO brush, what's the one feature that would get you super excited, and what's the one thing that would make you hesitate?
Ooh, that's a great question. It really makes you think about your own preferences.
It does. For me, it's definitely the idea of getting smooth, shiny hair in half the time. That's super appealing.
Yeah, I get that.
But I would definitely want to do more research on how it handles my specific hair texture.
Totally. And that's the great thing about having all this information available to us.
Wow.
We can read reviews from people with similar hair to ours, watch videos, and really figure out if a product is right for us.
Exactly. And that's what these deep dives are all about. Giving you the information, the insights, the different perspectives, so you can make your own informed choices.
Absolutely. We're like your personal research assistants. We do the digging, we present you with the good stuff, but ultimately the decision is yours.
Speaking of decisions, I have a confession to make.
Oh, okay. What is it?
All this talk about the TYMO brush has got me seriously thinking about trying it out myself.
Really?
Yeah, that whole time-saving thing is really appealing to me.
I totally get it. It's tempting, right?
It is. But before I click add to cart, there's one more thing we should probably talk about.
Oh, okay. What's that?
Well, remember, the TYMO brush isn't the only hair straightening brush out there.
Right. Good point.
There are actually a bunch of similar brushes on the market right now,
Oh, yeah, there are.
each with its own, features and prices.
So you're saying even if we love everything about the TYMO brush, it's probably worth looking at some other options before we decide.
Exactly. It's like with anything else, a little comparison shopping never hurts.
Right.
You might find another brush that's even better for you, either for your hair type or your budget.
Totally.
Or maybe you'll discover a whole new type of hair straightening tool that you've never even heard of before.
Oh, yeah, that's always exciting.
It is. Now I'm thinking we need to do another deep dive on some of the TYMO brush's top competitors.
Ooh, I like that idea. We should definitely do that.
We'll save that for another episode.
Okay.
But for now, I think we've given our listener plenty to think about.
Yeah, I think so too. It's been a whirlwind of information about hair straightening.
It has. So, dear listener, it's your turn now.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
What stood out to you today? What questions do you still have? What else do you need to know to make a decision?
Don't be shy about doing your own research. Read more reviews, compare prices, watch some tutorial videos.
Yeah, and most importantly, trust your gut feeling.
Absolutely.
That's what it's all about, making choices that feel right for you. So go out there and straighten your hair with confidence. And until next time, happy styling.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the best things about these deep dives.
Right.
We give you the information and the insights. We talk about the pros and the cons and all the different perspectives, and then you can kind of take it from there.
Right.
And make your own decision about, what's best for you.
Exactly. We're like, here's all the information, do what you want with it.
Exactly.
Speaking of making decisions,
Yeah.
I have a confession to make.
Oh, okay. What's up?
All this talk about the TYMO brush has really got me thinking about trying it.
Oh, really? You're gonna get one.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that time-saving thing is really speaking to me.
I know. It's so tempting, right?
It is. But before I, actually buy it, there's one more thing I think we should probably mention.
Oh, okay. What's that?
Well, the TYMO brush isn't the only straightening brush out there.
Right. That's true.
There are a bunch of similar brushes on the market.
Yeah, a lot of brands are making them now.
So are you saying, even if we really like the TYMO brush, it's still a good idea to look at some of the other ones before we decide?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's like with anything else, a little comparison shopping never hurts.
True.
You might find one that's even better fit for you, Maybe it works better for your hair type, or it's a better price.
Yeah.
Or maybe you'll discover a totally different kind of straightening tool that you didn't even know about.
Oh, that would be cool. Now I'm thinking we need to do another deep dive on some of the other straightening brushes out there.
Ooh, yeah, like a straightening brush showdown.
Exactly. All right, we'll save that for another episode.
Sounds good.
But for now, I think we've given our listener a lot to think about.
Yeah, definitely. We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have. So, dear listener, now it's your turn.
Yeah, what are you thinking?
What are you curious about? What questions popped up for you while we were talking? What other information do you need to make a decision?
Do your own research, read more reviews, watch some tutorials, compare prices.
Yes, and like we always say, trust your instincts.
Always, always.
It's about finding what feels right for you.
Exactly.
So go out there and rock that amazing hair. And until next time, happy styling.